Hey guys, figure I'd make a G6R maintenance video just to kind of show you guys the basic stuff that you'd be doing if you had this gun. I will go into LPR today just because I'm selling this gun on PBN and I just want to make sure that my gun's clean and all that before I ship it out. So what you're going to need is a set of Allens, a screwdriver for the eyes, and you might need some pliers. Preferably needle nose, but just something that you can get this little pin out if you can't just tap it out. We're going to start with the regulator. Yeah, so just like I said, you just need to get that little thing out. It should just slide right out, and the rest also come take your microfiber, clean this end out. Also, you're going to need grease. My choice is Pathogen Super Grease. I really like this grease. I've been testing it out for a little while now. Clean this up. Remove the shims, just keep in mind the order that they're in. I typically don't remove the shims, I just kind of clean as much off as I can on the gunk. Be sure to get in there, in between each shim. And yeah, there you go. Then what we're going to do, you want to check this O-ring, really, is the most important thing, this O-ring right here, at the very top. Just make sure nothing's wrong with it. If it is, replace it. That's the new one. I don't want to open that one up. Use this one. Just grab a little bit of grease. Seal it on here. Now, something to keep in mind is when you're pulling this rag off, sometimes it will get stuck, and if that happens, then what you're going to want to do is you're going to grab a hairdryer. You know, whether your girlfriend has one, your mom, go buy one if you really need to. I like to put a little bit of lube in here as well. But yeah, grab a hairdryer and just kind of heat the rag up a little bit where the seam is, and it will expand the metal just a teensy bit so you can go ahead and put this in together just like that. Alright. It'll just heat the seams up, heat the threads up a little bit so you can just yank it right off. I've only really had to do that like once since owning this G6R, so that's about it. Alright, next thing we're going to do is actually, let's do the LPR. So you're going to twist this off. Our thing with this is you don't twist it. I'm going to put this aside. You don't twist this normally. You're actually going to twist it clockwise, looking at it from the top. I like to grab my 1/8 Allen key, and I take this nut out, the adjustment nut. And just set it aside. Now you're going to take the 5/16 Allen key, and I believe the 7/32 Allen key. Let's just make sure. Actually, the 5/16 and 1/4. Yes. And looking at it from the top, you're gonna go clockwise. just break it free. Remove this. And all that's in here is a spring with a little magnet drive. Just make sure that it's clean. They seem to be pretty clean. My gun's not that dirty. You really don't need to do the LPR that often. This will come right out. You don't really need to mess with anything in here. Just clean it off. Unless anything is damaged in here, but highly doubtable unless you've been owning your G6R for a really long time and just putting miles and miles and miles on it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back after I lube it up real quick. This grease is real thick. It's very good, especially for spool valves. But I like it on the G6. It does its good job. Just make sure that's nice and springy. Go ahead and put this back the way that you found it. Yeah, these are reverse threaded. And then all you want to do is grab your 1/4 and 5/16 Allen key. Give it a little snug, just tight, and then you can go ahead and put your adjustment screw back in, your 1/8 Allen key. Now at this point, if you have air, you can go ahead and pressure test it and just make sure that your pressures are right, but since I am selling this on the Nation, I will put a link below. $450 shipped, and it's going to come with a ton of goodies, including a headband, another paintball gun, and some lens cleaner. So I will put that link in the description, and you guys can go check it out. But yeah, you can go ahead and pressure test it. Oh, it will come with a pressure tester too. Go ahead and pressure test it, just make sure your pressures are right. But since I am shipping this off, I will not pressure test it, and I'll just leave it up to the person who is going to pressure test it, because their tank output might be different from mine. Let's go ahead and do the eye covers. You're just going to be removing that screw right there. Let's see. Oh, too big. This is where you're going to need your screwdriver. Come on out. Here we go. All you really need to do, you can run a swab through here. I already done this. Last time I played, so I already know that the breech is clean. But if you need to get into your eyes, here's your detent and the spring. But if you need to get into your eyes and clean it, there's a small screw right here. And then you can clean off your eyes. I already know it's clean, so I'm not going to bother. But just be sure when you put this back, to not tighten it way too much. It just has to be snug. If you tighten it, you run risk of breaking this little chip right here, or board, I guess you can call it, and it will mess up your eyes. Don't lose this. Also be careful to not lose that spring. really kind of simple. You really don't need to do a whole lot to the G6R as far as basic maintenance goes. It's really simple. It's almost as simple as an Ego, I would say. The complicated parts are for the more interior design, where you have to take these two screws out. These ones right here. That kind of gets complicated. But other than that, I mean, you're really not breaking it apart that part too often. Let's go ahead and remove the bolt and let's do the rammer. I believe it's a 5/32 for this back cap. And it's not now, some G6Rs might have a O-ring right here. Be careful not to pinch it. This one doesn't have it. I've seen no problems with it so far. Almost dropped my RAM. I've seen no problems with it so far. There's been no leaking or anything, but if there is an O-ring, just be careful not to pinch it. I'm going to go ahead and clean this off. You just want to check these O-rings, make sure that they're not too damaged up, and these look fine, so I'm just going to go ahead and lube them up. When I ship this out, it'll come with a Planet Eclipse lube, and I was using that lube on this gun for a while, and that lube works fine. Just fine. Put some residue up on this. Little end goes first. That's that. Now, a lot of people like to put oil on their bolts. I personally prefer grease. It's really just to make sure that it goes smooth in the chamber there. I've been using grease ever since I've had the G6R and any other copy that I've owned, which was just an E-Tech. I haven't owned an Eagle or anything. Those always worked fine. I put very little. I put just enough to get these O-rings wet. Just enough. Just to get them wet. And that's that. And it's just 3 O-rings. Slide a little bit on a little bit of the residue on the bolt itself. Easy thing to do is kind of go from the top and then put the bottom in. And again, all these screws really don't have to be snug or super tight, just snug enough to where they're going to do their job. Yeah, and like I said, the grease and all that is just enough for it to cycle smoothly. And if you can tell, like, I barely even see it's falling on its own accord. And when it's aired up, it's gonna stay back. So it's real smooth. Actually, the G6R is one of the smoothest guns I've shot. And it's quiet. It's almost as smooth as a Go3, actually. But other than that, I mean, this gun gun's a great gun. I'm really only selling it because I really want to get into that pump game, and I'll just, because I'm really not playing speedball that often anymore, so if I get a pump I'll be able to go play more, and that'll be good for me, and good for you guys because I'll be able to release a ton of videos. But yeah, that's been my basic maintenance. I mean, if you need to change the battery, all you gotta do is remove the grip screws and you'll be good. It's pretty simple to change a battery. But yeah, that's it. Just basic maintenance, bolts, rammer, and regulator if you have to. But usually after a day's play, I do bolt, rammer, and I clean out my eyes and the breech. And after a while, I will clean out the reg. If you download Bob Long's G6R manual, it actually has a little chart that's really nice. It lets you know when exactly you have to maintain all of this, and that's great. So thanks guys, it's been a G6R maintenance video. I will put the link of my Nation thread, PB Nation thread for selling this marker if you ever want to purchase this gun, in the description below.